Okay. Mr. Morrison and his daughter Rose each get a bottle of Qwik Qure cough medicine from the pharmacy. Mr. Morrison's bottle is 300 milliliters, and he has to take 10 milliliters every 3 hours. Rose has a smaller bottle with 90 millimeters, and she has to take 5 milliliters every 6 hours. They have to take the medicine between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Who will use their medicine first? All right. So, let's work through this now. You zoom out. So I'm going to start with M for Morris here and R for Rose. Okay. So let's just work through what one day would look like. Okay. They would start at 7 a.m. and they would both take their medicine. So if Mr. Morrison is starting with 300, so I'm going to write 300 up here above Mr. Morrison, above the M, and 90 next to the R here. If at 7 o'clock, sorry, I'm drawing a table if you can't see. All right. At 7 o'clock, they both start. Mr. Morrison takes 10 mils, so 300 minus 10 is 290. So that's how much he has after he's taken his medicine. Rose takes 5 mils every 6 hours, but she starts in the morning with her dad. So she takes 5 mils from 90. She has 85. Okay. Now, that's it. We're done for now. But then 3 hours later, Mr. Morrison takes 10 again. So 3 hours on 7. Let me move my screen a bit. So 3 on 7 is 10. So at 10, Mr. Morrison, that's meant to be at 10, takes another 10 mils, which means he has 280 left. Rose is only meant to take every 6 hours, so she doesn't take. So she still has 85. Then 3 hours later, Mr. Morrison has to take again. So let's add 3 hours onto that. That's 13 or 1 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, he takes his 10 mils, so that's 270. And this is 6 hours since she first took her medication. So Rose has to take another 5, so that drops her down to 80. All right. And we're only going to do the first day as detailed as this. Okay. Let me just draw my line so I have some place to write the date. So at 1600 hours, also known as 4 o'clock, Mr. Morrison has his next dose, so he has 260. And at this point, Rose has 80 still, because she hasn't had any. This has only been 3 hours since her last dose, because that's when her last dose was. All right. So now we go to what would be 1900, which is also known as 7 p.m. So this is the last dose they'll take for the day. Mr. Morrison drops down to 250, and Rose takes her next one at 75. All right, so that's the first day. And then the next day we're going to do next to it over here. Okay, I will just pause and quickly write it out and then explain it to you. All right, so this is the next day I've drawn out here. Here's Mr. Morrison, here's Rose, here's the time. So I've done 7 o'clock, I've done 10 o'clock, and then instead of writing 13 and 16, I've gone 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So it's the same. These are every 3 hours. And so every 3 hours we drop down by 10. So he takes his first dose. He did have 250 the previous day. Then he had 240 after his first dose. Then 230, then 220, 210, 200. So that's how much he used through the day, taking every 3 hours. Rose, however, took her first dose and she had 70. 75 the previous day, first dose 70. Then 6 hours later, she had 65. 6 hours later, she had 60. And that was the end of day 2. All right, I'm going to draw out day 3 and probably day 4 as well. I'll do a few now and we can run through them a bit quicker.